Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, and a very warm welcome to our guests, the family and friends of our, should I say, our wonderful artist, Shingo-san, Shingo Francis. And it is just such an honor to have him here today and to have all of you here today and to be able to offer this event to our members. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm doing a quickie stand-in job of MC for Terry White, who really was the one who spearheaded our artistic efforts to create our collection here. Unfortunately, he's ill this morning, so he could not be with us. So it's my pleasure then to be able to welcome you here. We also, from the original task force, have Jim Fink sitting here, who was one of our other, how should I say, avid supporters of the selection of our art for our collection here. So thanks to him. And Yoshimoto-san, Daichi Yoshimoto, our architect and interior designer, also lovely to have him with us to help share how things fit into the club's thematic and overall natural look to it. So thank you all very much. I am going to hand off in a moment to one of our art curators, Tokarin-san, and he'll say a couple of words and introduce Shingo Francis to us. And our expectation is maybe he might chat with us for about 15 minutes, and then we have time for 15 minutes or so of Q&A. And then if anyone, if it's all right, wants to tag along to the tour to see the club as a whole, then you're very welcome to join in on that. And with having said that, I am going to sit down and enjoy myself. I will come maybe back to help Shingo-san if he needs any help moderating the Q&A, but otherwise I'm just going to enjoy the session. Thank you.
Hi, arigatou gozaimasu, Shingo-san. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shintaro, and I'm from Arts Initiative Tokyo. It is a nonprofit art organization based in Tokyo, and we had a privilege to work with Tokyo American Club, Nihonbashi, over a year to select the artworks for their collection. And this morning, I'm super excited to have Shingo Francis-san. Some of his artworks are especially commissioned for this occasion to open up the new venue in Nihonbashi. We are running a little bit of time this morning, I think, actually. So without the further ado, Shingo-san, please.
Hi, arigatou gozaimasu. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to time myself so I don't run over time, which is easy to do. I just want to thank the Tokyo American Club, Eito, and Misashin Gallery, and Yoshimoto and Associates for making this all happen, and all the members of the club. I just want to say a little story before getting into my work that we've been members of the club since I was a little kid, and I went to school in Azabu, and then we would, on the weekends, go and bowl. So there was a bowling tournament where there was a competition every Saturday morning at Tech. And I have one quick story about that. So the bowling alley is really clean. It's beautiful. It was a bit retro back then. And I invited a friend to come and bowl with us from school. We'll just call him Butch. That was his name. And so, you got a ball, you got to find the right fit for your finger. If it's too loose, it's not that great because you got to really squeeze. If it's too tight, you can't let go of it. So we went around and he got his ball. And so then it was time for him to batter up, and he hasn't really bowled before. So we're like, you go to this line and you throw the ball. So he got up there and he threw the ball and it went up
What matter?
The ball went up, and then it landed, and it made the loudest sound, and everybody stopped. Everybody stopped, and you know, it just it's like someone with chalk on the board. It's just really, and then the person, I remember the person coming and running down. Oh my God, who threw that ball? He went up to the lane to inspect it. And I mean, he was so upset and so angry. He said, "Don't ever throw the ball." And luckily, nothing was wrong with the lane, but that was a story that I can't forget. Yeah.
Your strongest childhood memory.
Yeah. But tackle, I mean, they really, really took care of their lanes. Really, I mean, it was a very serious thing. So, well, besides that and the movies that we went to, and it was really a part of our life back then. And it's great to have my friend Taichu, who's a member here as well. And my mother is here next to Taichu, and my stepfather is.
Welcome.
And we all enjoyed TAC back then. So I'm gonna now jump into my work. Just a little background. I'm both American and Japanese. My father's American, my mother's Japanese. So I grew up going between the two countries, and I went to an international school called Nihonbashi in Azabu. And at 6th grade, or starting 7th grade, I moved to the United States and started going to school in the United States, and came back every summer to live with my parents here, and then go back to school. So I was constantly going back and forth. So I have this kind of bicultural, country background. And so that's kind of like who I am. And I got into the arts. Both parents are artists. And I started with painting when I was in my late teens. And so I'm just going to jump right into some early works that I've been doing. And they're, as you can see, my work is abstract. And coming from the background of whether it's abstract expressionism or the informal, making an expression that is very direct from your emotions, from your thoughts, your feelings, and making it within a structure that, for me, was to create my own structure. And so what I was doing back then was the emotional, ideological expression I was trying to give to my work was how we change and transform. And meaning that in life, we're always looking for ways to deal with the change that's happening around us, or the change that is coming from within us. It could be our values that change, something we really enjoyed and liked at one point of our life, like even friends. We change, we go through different relationships. And so fire was an element that I looked towards in change. And fire is an element that is a transformative element. It takes material, it takes a thing, and it transforms it into another thing. And there's a psychological, philosophical whole writings about change and fire. So I was painting pictures of my own relationship and expression of change and transformation. And so these are some very early works of that. And I'm going to fast forward to Japan. Has a big influence on me, and I'm not going to get too much into that. And there's a movement called Light and Space. And then jumping forward here, this is about 2000, and what you saw earlier was about 1996. This is 2001, 2002, where I was looking at, okay, so we have change, we have transformation, and I wanted to then say, well, what is it that is something that can accept and absorb our experiences? And my thinking was space, time, and so looking at color as space. So therefore, simplifying the picture plane and making a monochromatic plane using just one color with a very, very faint line here. So there's a very simplified composition in simplifying the picture plane down to just two elements here. And so historically, these will be monochromatic, kind of minimalistic paintings. But for me, I wanted to create another space, and a space to kind of put ourselves into, and then also to absorb ourselves. And I went through many different iterations of these tones of blue, so lighter tones, darker tones, but they all have a very faint line at the bottom. So as you're looking at them, you had to kind of really stop and look. And I remember I had a show and someone said, "Oh, these are just blue paintings. There's nothing more than the blue." And then I said, "No, you got to really look. Do you see anything else?" And then he said, "Oh, I see this very faint line." And then he kind of like was, kind of felt like, oh, there's a lot more space in the color, and there's a lot more going on than I thought. So it's kind of like slowing yourself down, and that's part of like time, taking in time and absorbing time. So then these works started to transform somewhat, and having this line here break apart these two spaces. And this line could have some reference to timeline. So we always have kind of this relationship to time in a linear way, and that's how we count, or that's how we make time legible for ourselves, and by keeping time. So the reference to that is this line here that reads like a timeline in our own time or our own experience. And so this is a installation of one of the shows. So I would always exhibit them very spread out, give them a lot of space around the pieces. If they're too crowded, they start to, in a sense, kind of cancel each other out. So having a lot of space is very important to these types of works. And this is a series of prints I did with various colors. And then moving into out of blue and putting in more colors into the painting. And so you can see here, the top and the bottom opens up, and then you can see the layers of paint that each painting, going back to the earlier ones, each painting is layered maybe 30, 40 times. And that represents, one, as a material, oil paint, you want to be able to layer it little by little by little, and that gives its depth. But at the same time, that time that's put in there, because you're doing 30, 40 layers, it could take 2 to 3 months. So there's that time that's placed in there as well that's reflected in the painting. So here, the layers are starting to be revealed, and then you got the timeline, the line, acting as a boundary between the two. And then I started to let the bottom layers show, and then put the top layer on top of the bottom layer and open up the space. So here, this part of the painting, it's very compressed, and the depth kind of goes deeper into the painting. And so it's these devices that I started to work with to make this painting a little bit more dynamic. Drink some water. So these paintings and are showed like this. And then this series is the series that's reflected here. This is an early iteration where I want to do these bands and let things go more horizontally and in. So you have the space going inside, and then you have this linear expansion going horizontally. And this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit. I've been doing these large drawing installations where you could walk into the drawing. This is all work on paper that's suspended by fishing line in a circle. So you enter the drawing and you're kind of encompassed by this band, this line. And this abstract work is, the line is referencing time again, and the circle represents the cycles of our lives. So meaning, basically we live day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, season by season. So it's all a cycle, it's all a circle. So that was what I wanted people to kind of feel as they walk into this work on paper. And then slowly I started to open up this. As you can see, my work is pretty process orientated. So as I go along and as I have ideas and this is what I want to do, sometimes it just took wiping away the center at one point, just kind of taking it away because I didn't want that there. And then I realized, oh, it really opened up another space and I wanted to really explore that. So then this band here at the center, which is what you see here in these two paintings, representing another space, yet at the same time it harkens back to the earlier blue paintings, where here, as you can see in these paintings, the gestures, the movement still has a relationship with my thoughts and about change and transformation. So there's a lot going on that we're always dealing with. Yet, at the same time, there's this space here in the center that is unmoved, completely unmoved by what's going on. And it's a space that is within us that we can accept what's going on around us. And at the same time, what's going on inside of us. So in here is kind of like the timekeeper. And so these works start to explore the center, and then the space that's above and the space that's below. And this blue, as you can see in here, it's relating now with the subconscious. So we have our consciousness and we have our subconscious. And so what's happening subconsciously is mysterious, but it's definitely having an effect on us. So therefore we have our conscious life, that things we think about, things we do, the actions we take, and then the change and transformation that's going on in our life. And then we have the subconscious side, that is our dreams or our subliminal thoughts, feelings that affect ourselves, whatever that be. So our decisions affects our decisions, affects how we relate to people. So therefore, this time having these two paintings, the conscious side and the unconscious side, face each other, I think makes it a whole. So it was a really great opportunity to have these two works together in one space. I don't know how much time I have left. Let's see, 3 minutes?
Do we have a drop dead, or can we go over?
I'll ask him. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just going to show you a few other iterations of this type of work. And then lastly, this is a series I've been doing recently, which is using a type of material that is these very small beads of glass. They're very, very tiny. And they're suspended in a medium, and the color that is shown here is not, it's not like the color you see here. It's not pigment. It's not ground up minerals or anything. This is the spectrum of light that you see like when you do in a rainbow. So these small little particles are cut in an angle, and that angle determines which spectrum you're able to see. So this angle, just like a rainbow, depending on where that band is, you're able to see the purple, the blue, the red, the orange. So I've been using this special material to create these paintings that change change when you move. So it's kind of following your presence in time and space. It's really hard to see, to know what you're looking at with these, but because they change constantly as you're moving around. So this has been the latest series that I've been working on. And these paintings, if you look carefully and you look, it has a coat of this material in the center band of both works. So therefore, when it's reflecting back at you, it covers up the gestures. So it kind of comes and goes. But it's not as obvious as it is in these paintings. So anyhow, hope I stayed a little bit on time, but I think that's it. Sorry, my throat.
So we will start our Q&A, and you may notice that I just punched my little green light here. Since we are recording, if you'd like to ask a question, then when it is your turn, if you would please turn on your microphone, that would be very helpful for us. I was going to ask about the beads there, jumping in myself with the first question. So where you exhibit the work, the room also then has an influence on the colors that we will see, or not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The light, the way the light comes in and hits the surface of the paintings really defines how that painting is going to look to you. So you can see in this picture here, the light is hitting full frontal. So you're seeing the full reflection of the painting. Whereas say something like this, you're only seeing the light hit here. And then, so when the light's not reflecting off the painting and giving you this color, it's then what you're seeing in the ambient light, which is not reflecting, is the opposite color, contrasting color. So it flips between two different colors, essentially. So therefore, yeah, depending on the light, you're going to see various sides of the painting.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Yeah, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, since I don't know everybody's name, if you would like to speak, please just say your name and go ahead and be sure you've got your mic on. And
My name is Lori. When you would potentially make an installation of, say, the three small pieces in somebody's home or gallery or office, how would you go about choosing which ones you've made to match the variation of light and color in the space? Say, if you have a gallery type space, but you have sun coming in at different angles, how would you go about choosing how that would reflect and how it would feel
in the space?
In the space.
Either I go there to the space and see it myself, because what I've learned with these paintings is if the light's in too steep of an angle, it's not going to reflect. Therefore, you're going to get just one aspect of the painting. You're not going to get any reflection. You're just going to get ambient light. So when I go to a space, I recently had a collector commission a piece, and I took it to their home, and we went around to various spots of the house to see what was the best place for this painting to be. And pretty much the only criteria is as long as it's not a very steep angle light. If there's any light that's raking across, that's coming from a window, it's great because the light will change all day, and depending on the weather, it'll change. So you'll get this real kind of dynamic kind of effect from the painting. So yeah, I would go to the space and take a look. And if I can't go to the space, then I'll recommend a window or a light that's coming from not a steep angle, but from far back. I've had a client in Los Angeles who they got a pretty big one, but they wanted to put it on this wall that had a light right above it. So I said, no, you got to move the light, back. And so they had to get some construction done. But it's.
I'm Jim Fink. After you have an idea for a series, and I realize each piece is different, but how long would it take you to conceptualize, say, an individual piece like that? And then how long would it take you to execute the concept?
Well, with the first question, conceptualize, I'm kind of a process-oriented artist. So as I'm, as you saw earlier, moving step by step with these paintings, there's kind of evolution in the work. So the most I'll conceptualize for anything from scratch would be really having an idea or a thought or a desire to make something. For example, when I started working with this paint, I was using it to cover up the center part of these paintings, and then I wanted to isolate just that effect. So it could be pretty quick. It's a lot of trial and error. So with this, it took me. I realized that I had to make the surface of the painting, the surface very, very smooth, like a baby's skin, what they call the baby's bottom, and do a lot of sanding, a lot of layering, because any texture will disrupt the paint. But I would say it's at least several months, and then execution with the earlier paintings that are all blue were like 2 to 3 months. But anything like this, it's a water-based paint, so this took about a month and a half to do, somewhere in there.
Thanks. Daichi Yoshimoto. Your monochromatic blue work, I noticed how your horizontal line is slightly different in position, in height from one work to the other. Wondering what determines the position of that horizon relative to the size of the canvas.
Mm. With that body of work, it was important to keep the the line towards the bottom, because I realized when it got too high, like up around here, you kind of felt something unsettling that I didn't want the painting to create. It was like, it really kind of starts to come forward. It's a real kind of visual effect. This line starts to kind of really like kind of jump forward, and then it really kind of disrupts the space here that is the primary. Pretty much this painting is primarily just this very monochromatic space here. So in order to keep that intact as well, I found that it was very important to keep like a certain latitude below. So can't go above a certain latitude here. And so I always would kind of play between, there'll just be a bit of a play, a few, depending on the size of the painting, but a few percentage that I would put the line. But it kind of comes down to kind of a felt sense too, to have that, and it kind of also a very kind of settled place in the picture frame.
I see that as a horizon. So the lower the horizon is, I see kind of more emphasis on the sky, versus the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm kind of gonna steal Sugimoto Hiroshi's saying that the horizon pictures he took, I think there's one here. I don't know if it's a horizon, but one of his works is here. Yeah, he said that horizon is as old as human beings are, that we've been looking at these horizons for time immemorial. So maybe there's something very familiar to us with this composition.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Taichi. I know Shingo from when we're.
Yeah, he knows a lot of secrets.
Yeah. I have a very quick question. I think you've been, you currently have been doing a lot of, drawing / painting. You put those up in your Instagram. Is that something spontaneous that you're trying to do, or is that more of a conscious challenge to break through or to bring birth to something new?
Oh, the drawings, like
you do a daily drawing.
Daily drawings, yeah.
What is that process for you?
Yeah, that started with this pandemic where it became such a big intervention in all of our lives. We always hear of situations that happen in the world, and I think we've been very fortunate not to experience certain disruptions so acutely. Sometimes we do, some like the 3/11, for example. I wasn't here, but it was very acute. But the pandemic was just inescapable. And I saw how it really intervened and disrupted our lives. And I wanted to give a space and a time and the energy that I felt from those events, or that was happening daily, that we would get these cycles of what's going on with this mysterious virus and how it's upending our lives, and then how it, at least in the United States, it found its way into politics, and then the politics started to take its own form with the pandemic. So the daily drawings were a way for me to address this big disruption and intervention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, hello. My name is Beatrice Weber. My question was related to pandemic, but I think you answered. It did touch your sentiments and in what you wanted to express. But I wanted to ask you. We see in artists some movements that some artists go from figurative to abstract and then to monochromic or go back and forth. It seems in your work that you were from the beginning. You knew what you wanted was to express yourself just through color, so pigments. So I was interested to see how you're moving and taking in some materials or other media to express yourself, if you think it's something you want to explore even more.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of a never-ending exploration. My studio right now, actually, I had a few people over yesterday, and I was showing them what I was doing, and I kind of started to realize, like, there's so many things I want to do, and you just don't have the time, and just don't have the time to go down every path. So there's this kind of a process of elimination where, okay, which one do I really want to do? It's pretty tough. It's a hard one, and I think as you get older, when I was really starting off, the works that you did see as I was younger, there was less. I know that I wanted to express myself kind of directly, using color and being free to create my own structures. I think that for me is very attractive with abstraction. But I kind of really, I think we all do, when you're starting off, is trying to find your own voice and trying to figure out what it is you really are trying to express. And technically too, you're challenged, don't have all the techniques yet. So now I feel like I'm at a place where I have a lot more. It's like, you kind of like, you created a lot of, I can't really think of an analogy, but maybe you've driven down a lot of roads and now you know the map a little better. So then, you have a lot more options. That might be a kind of an analogy.
Other questions? We have time for one or two more, I believe.
We're okay for time.
Okay, good. I think it was more out of courtesy to you to not keep you so long, right? That we said. This is Ginger Griggs. If I can ask another question, back to your early work, I was struck by the fire in the circle and what looked kind of like molten lava in the middle. If you go back to that one, could you tell us what the center of that picture represented?
Well, that represented kind of this depth that I think as a young person, I mean, I feel depth now too, but I think there was this kind of like, this real deep, kind of trying to understand the mystery, trying to grapple with the unknown. So, I mean, there's so much we don't know, and instead of trying, there's just no way we're going to find out some things, like what's going to happen to me in a year or 2 years or 3 years, especially when you're that young. You're really like, don't really have that clear of an idea of what's going to happen. Who am I? What do I want to really become? What's my real self like? And then the bigger questions of what happens to when you die, where do we come from? All these kind of, more existential questions. So this center here is this references all those elements.
Interesting that later became the bigger space.
Yeah, and then the bigger space became more accepting. More, I think it's kind of like being okay with it. And also being kind of a source. That's a little hard to explain, but a source. I think we have to have some kind of mysteries in our life. We can't have all the answers. So that also being a source of curiosity, a source of kind of propelling ourselves towards something that we don't understand or don't know.
Other questions? I think we have come pretty close to our time. Let's thank Shingo. Thank you so much.
Man, my throat got so dry.
Speaking on behalf of our committee, without being an art connoisseur, but a lover in general of art, I will say that having your work here it really is an honor, and understanding it better makes it so much more meaningful. When I hear Terry White talk about the collection and also about the way we have designed other features of the club as a journey as you come in and you move, I think and I love the word that you said, the evolution of your art is a journey, and in space and time, in different media, and also the inner part and the exterior part of life, and the conscious and the subconscious. And it just is, thank you for sharing the beautiful story behind your art. I think we really all now can look at it through different eyes. So thank you again.
I just want to share some information. Shingo-san's solo expression will be opening. I just wanted to share some information to everyone that Shingo-san's solo expression will be showcasing at Misashin Gallery maybe early next year. Kaet-san? Next June?
January.
January.
Great.
Yes. I guess somehow it'll be in the.
Definitely, we will have to circulate that information among our
Sure.
members
That
and
would
make
be-
sure that we
that
have
would
that
be great.
opportunity.
And it's closely located to Takazabudai.
Yes.
So everyone can come. Thank you so much. Shingo.
Thank you.